localization news you can use, your daily dose of localization know-how for January 5th, 2026. Welcome to Localization News You Can Use, your daily dose of localization know-how for January 5th, 2026. First and foremost, I want to wish everyone a very happy New Year 2026. As we start this new chapter, tonight also marks the eve of Epiphany, a celebration of revelation. In that spirit, let's see what revelations are currently shaping our industry. We begin by examining the strategic mindset required for 2026. Stefan Huyghe has come out with a strong message challenging the traditional metrics of our trade. He argues that localization only matters if people actually engage with the content. It is no longer sufficient to deliver volume. We must measure whether that content triggers activity. Expanding on this, Huyghe identifies engagement as the single most overlooked metric in localization. While we obsess over cost per word or turnaround time, the real question is, did the user click, buy, or read? Huyghe also offers a necessary dose of optimism. For those translators feeling nervous about the future, he emphasizes that our industry is moving toward a relationship economy. The human ability to connect is the safeguard against obsolescence, a sentiment echoed by Søren Eberhard, who reminded us recently that professional standards and human nuance are what differentiate premium service from commodity. However, the industry landscape isn't entirely smooth. Diego Cresceri observes that localization feels stuck between two opposing forces: the relentless pressure to cut costs via automation and the unyielding need for high-quality, culturally resonant work. Cresceri makes a crucial distinction here. He believes localization does not have an innovation problem. We have plenty of tech, but rather an implementation problem. We are struggling to strategically apply the tools we have. This strategic failure is also visible on the buyer side. Jakov Miličević points out that language service buyers often shoot themselves in the foot by prioritizing the lowest possible rates. This race to the bottom inevitably degrades the quality they pay for, creating a cycle of dissatisfaction. This aligns with recent business insights from Programming Insider, which notes that the #1 mistake businesses make in 2026 is treating language as a utility commodity rather than a strategic asset for growth. Turning to the innovation that Cresceri mentioned, there are massive shifts in hardware. Diego Cresceri also highlighted that Meta is set to acquire the Chinese-founded startup Manus. This is significant because Manus specializes in haptic technology. If Meta integrates high-fidelity touch into the metaverse, localization will soon involve localizing sensory feedback, not just text. In parallel, Timekettle has announced its 2026 breakthroughs, introducing a new translation engine called Selector, alongside next-generation bone conduction voice capture. This technology is designed to isolate the user's voice from ambient noise, making AI interpretation in crowded physical spaces much more viable. iFlytek is also pushing this boundary, showcasing their real-world AI voice and translation technologies at Pepcom, further blurring the line between digital tools and face-to-face conversation. The financial markets are betting big on this voice revolution. Neosapience has raised $11.5 million to advance their AI voice technology, at confirming that synthetic speech is a primary growth vector. But AI needs data, and data needs to be inclusive. Cohere Labs has launched a vision language dataset specifically for African languages. This is a critical development. By enabling multimodal models to understand images and text in African languages, we are finally addressing the data scarcity that has excluded millions of users from the AI boom. General AI trends monitored by AI Base and NIMSI Insights confirm that LangTech innovation is accelerating, with a specific focus on how these tools integrate into existing workflows. Speaking of workflows, the role of leadership is evolving. Mugais shared thoughts on how a CTO should evaluate language AI today. The verdict? The era of building proprietary models from scratch is fading. The smart money is on effectively fine-tuning and integrating existing large language models. Rahat V. Gora takes this a step further, describing the industry's transition from the traditional language service provider model to LangOps, language operations. This implies a continuous embedded delivery of language services rather than project-based handoffs. Validation of these new technologies is coming in. BureauWorks was just named Tech of the Week by Nimdzi Insights, a nod to their platform's ability to actually solve that implementation gap we discussed earlier. Now, let's look at the people behind the tech. The European Language Industry Association, ELIA, has announced Adaptability as the theme for their Together 2026 event. This is fitting, as adaptability is the core skill of the year. Yoda Georgakopoulou provided updates on the ELIAS 2026 survey, which, in collaboration with the European Masters in Translation and LIND, aims to align academic training with these shifting market realities. For freelancers, the picture is mixed. Antonella Speroni has teased big news for freelance translators at Unbabel, suggesting platform improvements. However, Julian Pintat at Guerrilla Media offers a different path, writing about a happy ending found through cooperative models, arguing that ethical, the translator-owned structures are a viable alternative to the platform economy. But it's not all happy endings. The Association of Interpreters and Translators in America has highlighted significant pushback regarding changes to freelance parliamentary interpreter accreditation in Canada. Associations are criticizing these changes, fearing they will lower the bar for quality in critical government settings. On the medical front, Isabella Massardo and Italian Medical Translations continue to stress that in healthcare, accuracy is a matter of life and death, and good enough automation is simply not enough. On a lighter note regarding daily struggles, Georgios Tsiakos shared the universal pain of the Control-Z undo shortcut not working, a tiny technical failure that resonates with every professional who lives by the keyboard. Cultural nuance remains our bread and butter. Osaka Language Solutions has released a guide on hidden meanings in Japanese language and culture for 2026 to 2027. This type of deep cultural insight is exactly what AI struggles with. Similarly, reports on e-commerce localization for 2026 emphasize that global brands must go beyond translation to full user experience adaptation, changing how a site feels and functions for local markets. In the public sector, Connecticut has published a guide to help school districts support multilingual learners, ensuring equity in education. And looking at the broader work environment, Steve Rotter discussed the nuances of co-working in 2026. Noting that as remote work matures, the physical spaces we occupy are becoming more collaborative and international. Finally, we see continued movements in the executive sphere. Ludek Janda hosted talks with Petr Sedlacek, discussing the view from the top, while Nenba Barrett highlighted the strength of the French tech ecosystem, specifically regarding Mistral AI, proving that sovereign AI remains a priority for Europe. We also looked at some data points to close out the previous year. Reports on the most clicked-on language jobs and the top 25 language industry quotes of 2025. Give us a snapshot of where the interest and the conversation were focused as we entered this new year. Also, predictions indicate that AI interpreting will be the next great disruption for language service integrators in 2026, forcing yet another wave of adaptation. In the world of nonfiction, Alyssa Cruz clarified the distinct differences between editing and localization, a reminder that adapting content is a specialized skill distinct from cleaning up text. Thank you for listening to this episode of Localization News You Can Use, your daily dose of localization know-how. As we celebrate Epiphany tonight, let's hope the three wise men bring the best possible outcome for the localization industry in 2026. Wisdom in our strategies, prosperity in our partnerships, and a renewed sense of human connection.